All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're diving into something I know a ton of you are really into, the psychology behind sneaker obsession.
Oh, yeah.
We got a bunch of really interesting articles from y'all, and honestly, some of it surprised even me.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
we're going to unpack it all. We're going to go into the history, the lure, the psychology, like the whole thing.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, isn't it? How something that started out so practical, just shoes, could become such a huge cultural thing.
Absolutely. And speaking of history, one of the articles you sent in actually mentioned that the roots of sneaker culture go all the way back to the 1860s.
Wow.
In England.
Huh.
Not exactly what we think of when we think about like streetwear today, right?
No, not at all. Back then it was all about croquet and tennis. I mean, can you imagine wearing your Jordans to play croquet?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a very different vibe.
Totally. And it wasn't until much later, like the 70s and 80s, that sneakers actually started to take on a totally different meaning, especially in Black communities. A couple of articles highlighted that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a time of, a lot of social and economic challenges, and sneakers became a way for people to express themselves, to be creative, to stand out, to connect with each other. I mean, it's really powerful when you think about it, how an object can become so much more than just its function.
Great, and symbol of resilience almost, right?
Exactly.
Like finding that creative outlet and making a statement, even when times are tough. And then, of course, you can't talk about sneakers without talking about hip-hop. One article really went into detail about how hip-hop in the 80s cemented sneakers as like a core part
for sure.
of the movement.
I mean, think about Run DMC and their Adidas Superstars.
Right.
It was iconic. It wasn't just about the music anymore. It was the whole look, the attitude.
Yeah.
It all tied together.
Absolutely. And fast forward to today, I mean, it's a global thing, right? Sneaker culture is
Global. Oh, yeah.
everywhere. But one article that really kind of got me thinking was this whole thing about limited edition sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
And what makes them so irresistible. It's like people will camp out for days.
It's crazy.
Enter endless raffles just for a chance to snag a pair.
Yeah, it's that whole scarcity thing, right? Like when something's rare, it automatically becomes more desirable.
Like that study you mentioned earlier, right? Where people were willing to pay more.
Oh, with the cookies. Yeah.
For the cookies from the almost empty jar.
Exactly.
Even though they were the same cookies as the full jar.
It's all about perception, and brands know how to play that game.
Yeah.
They use celebrity endorsements, influencer hype that create this frenzy, make you feel like you have to have it right now or you'll miss out.
It's like FOMO for sneakers, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the article goes on to talk about how sneakers are actually like extensions of our identity, which I thought was super interesting.
It's true. Like, what you wear on your feet can say a lot about you. Your style, your interests, your values even. Like, are you a basketball fan? Are you into fashion? Are you part of a certain subculture? Your shoes can kind of tell that story without you even saying anything.
And it's not just about following the trends either. There's so much creativity out there now. People customizing their shoes, making them one of a kind. It's like,
oh, the customization is insane.
Another level.
It's like taking something mass-produced and making it your own, a reflection of your own individual style. It's pretty cool.
And then you've got the whole nostalgia factor. One article talked about that, how certain sneakers can trigger such strong memories and emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Like the smell of your grandma's cookies
just
takes you back.
It's like a time machine, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about your first pair of Jordans, the shoes you wore to your high school graduation. Each pair holds a story, a memory. They're like little time capsules on your feet.
And that totally explains why vintage and retro sneakers are so popular.
Yeah.
It's like this desire to reconnect with those experiences, those feelings.
Absolutely. It's about tapping into those positive memories, those moments that made you feel good.
But then there's this whole other side to sneaker culture that's a little bit more complex, the psychology of addiction. And, collecting sneakers can be a fun hobby.
Of course.
But there's a line there, right?
Yeah.
Between passion and obsession.
For sure. I mean, there's a reason people call it sneakerhead.
Right.
There's a real psychology at play here.
And one article actually brought up research about how just the anticipation of getting new sneakers or acquiring them releases dopamine in the brain.
It's that rush, that feeling of reward, like you've accomplished something.
And it's like gambling or video games can be super addictive. And then on top of that, you've got the social validation, like owning certain shoes can give you status.
Oh, absolutely.
Make you feel like you're part of the in crowd.
Yeah, it's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
And it can definitely lead to some unhealthy behaviors if you're not careful.
So how do we find that balance then? How do we enjoy sneaker culture in a way that's healthy and, you know,
I think it all comes down to self-awareness. You have to ask yourself, why am I buying this?
right?
Am I buying it for me, or am I buying it to impress other people?
Like what's really driving the purchase?
Exactly. And I think the key is to focus on the things that genuinely resonate with you, the pieces that have meaning, that tell your story, that bring you joy.
It's about quality over quantity for sure.
Absolutely.
So this deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least. We've covered everything from like the history of sneakers way back when to, to the complex psychology of why we're so obsessed with them today. It's crazy.
It really makes you think, with all this technology coming out, virtual fashion, NFTs, like what's going to happen to sneaker culture?
That's a great question. Like, are we all going to be rocking digital Jordans in the metaverse?
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, will they hold the same value, the same meaning as a physical pair? It's fascinating to think about.
It is. And it's
Right.
a question I think we're all going to be grappling with as we move forward.
For sure.
But for now, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a wild ride.
It has. Thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you next time.